Hi all. Continuation of 6.7. Like I said, I've got some technical glitches going on here that I'm not quite understanding. But anyways, we will continue. And we were working on the emotional or self-worth body. So this sexual abuse, childhood abuse, all of this stuff is what completely wrecks our emotional body, which is a direct reflection upon our self-worth and our ability to believe in ourselves. So that's truly profound in the way it really does anchor into the physical body. I've seen this, but I've seen people heal these aspects of their body and their being. And oh, it is beautiful, beautiful. And this is where we got to remember how powerful the imagination can truly be. Because I one time had a client who was dealing with some childhood trauma, and she literally brought a fairy into the session. And this fairy was operating as kind of like her conscious and her higher self. And her inner child was able to really connect with this fairy. And through the processing and the interaction between these two in this realm that is such a beautiful place to be in, she literally was able to conquer all the trauma and transmute it and have a higher understanding of it and completely release it. And when she did that, we literally saw her entire being heal physically. It physically manifested a profound regeneration within her body, which nobody foresaw could being possible. And like I said, this was something that was so beautiful to witness. And she literally did this work by using her imagination and a fairy. So we need to understand this work is sometimes it's so simple that you would think, how could this possibly heal something that couldn't be helped before? You know, you tried and nothing could work. And then how could something this simple heal you? It's because of the way that our mind works. It's just a natural process that we have within us. So this work, getting into meditation, getting into trance work, going into guided meditations, this work can truly transform you at a cellular level. And I think this is what we're supposed to be remembering and getting into, because this really does. It causes waves of huge transformation. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is to increase our existence and vibration and resonance with nature and life and love. And I think that this is how to do it. It's by healing the trauma and the frequencies and the programs that we have running in our subconscious mind, and bringing them into our conscious awareness and transforming them into something that holds wisdom but no more trauma. And literally, this is something that we can do. So the next body is the etheric, or the life force body. And this highly structured, masculine energy body is an exact double of your physical form. So this is the etheric body. It is blue, and it extends about an inch beyond the surface of the skin. It is directly connected to the flow of vital energy, the force of spirit itself, and the physical health of all of our organs. When a person is sick, the body turns bluish gray and contracts to about half an inch above the skin, as a reflection of the person's primary life force. This field is connected to the first chakra, located at the perineum between the legs. This power center deals with life-threatening issues and can shut down when a person is faced with danger, death, or other life-threatening traumas. Our sense of self-worth resides here, linked to the flow of the Kundalini, as well as the life force. In the many years of my healing work with clients, I have seen many negative beliefs stored in this energy center. Emotions of fear about whether we deserve to be alive or whether we should remain invisible in order to stay safe. The energy center has an enormous bearing on one's overall health and can be highly compacted when there have been lifetimes spent in prison under persecution, or when we've been told that there is something wrong with us, causing us to make ourselves as small as possible in order to survive. The ego. The human ego is different from the true self or I am presence. This little self has strong ties with the mind and emotions, which are linked to the second and third chakras. The human ego deals with self-worth, identity, sexuality, boundaries, prosperity, and the sense of right and wrong. While the I am presence is immortal, the human ego is not. On earth, this little self allows us to develop our individualization and learn choices until we choose to become aligned with our higher selves. When this happens, then these two aspects of who we are can begin to work in harmony. The ego then becomes subsumed by the soul itself. Until then, the little self is mirrored in the belief that we are abandoned, cut off, and separate from the divine. It is this illusion that causes our insecurities, fears, and lack of self-esteem, which we project onto others. These negative emotions lie at the heart of our personal and social problems and must be overcome for the soul to align with the angelic twin on its true evolutionary plan. The function of the ego. Despite what we are often taught, especially in certain Eastern religion, my guides have made it clear to me that it is not our job to destroy the little self. The ego will dissolve naturally when the time is right. The ego is a tool that human beings need to survive on this plane, this world of matter, until such time as we can live fully from the higher self. It is our task to become a parent to this little self, to remind it that it is safe, loved, and not alone, just as we would a beloved child. Like a good parent, the soul must remind the little self that none of us have ever been abandoned by spirit, but have each chosen to enter this world to embark on this amazing adventure called life. Then the little self will begin to feel safe again. It will realize it's not alone, and it will begin to consult the soul, eventually turning the reins over to the soul's greater wisdom. Then together, these two parts can work in unison to steer the chariot of life back in the direction of the soul's evolution, instead of succumbing to the fear, insecurity, and negative thought that leads it into the shadow. Whatever traumas your subtle energy bodies have been through, they can be brought back into balance, for these are merely the vehicles through which the soul processes its many life experiences. Each of these bodies can be positively or negatively programmed. Each continuously, consciously, or unconsciously by the words and actions of those around us. Thus, we believe and what we tell ourselves about who we are and our relationship to the world is having a huge influence on who we become, affecting the circumstances that we attract or create. In part 4, we will take a deeper look at these archetypal patterns and how we can begin to heal them. But for now, let's turn to an extraordinary concept known in esoteric circles as the angelic twin. Chapter 13, Meeting Our Angelic Twin. The soul comes from without into the human body, as into a temporary abode, and it goes out of it and anew, passing into another habitation, for the soul is immortal. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Before we start that too, they had some beautiful art that was showing the angelic meeting, the angelic twin. And I showed it to you guys before, but I would like to show it to you again. So this is the artwork, and it is called Plate 7. The soul meets its angelic twin on the stairway to the gates of heaven. Here the soul begins its life review of the lifetime just ending, seeing clearly how the soul could have used its time in a more loving and transformational way. Artist Bruce Rolfe. And this is the picture that they show, meeting the angelic twin. That's beautiful too. And that's called The Soul Crosses the Bridge, Plate 6. So, the angelic twin. The concept of the angelic twin is found at the most esoteric levels of many world traditions, including the Jewish sect known as the Essenes, which Jesus belonged to, in the early Christian Gnostics. They were who upheld the true teachings of Jesus, ancient Egyptian teachings, and the hidden teachings of Catholic theology. In essence, this concept holds that each of us has an angelic counterpart abiding in the celestial realms. The life that we are living now is but an extension of this higher, pure white light being that has decided to extend a portion of itself into the world of form. It is the divine light-filled angelic twin that greets the soul when it reaches the other side and asks us for an accounting of the progress that we have made after each lifetime. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, we find several references to this pure white light being in the symbols of the god Ra, Horus, and Osiris. The sun god Ra is said to represent the radiance of the soul itself. Then there is Osiris, god of the afterlife, resurrection, and regeneration, who is the risen Lord of Light, who meets us in heaven. Osiris was said to be the Ba of the world, the soul of perfected humanity. He is the being that each soul is brought before when the heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at. Then there is Horus, the great restorer of truth, who overturns the egoic aspects of Set. Set symbolizes the little self, the ego. Finally, there is the ever-renewing phoenix of Bennu, the bird associated with all great world saviors. Legends of the Phoenix tells us that he is a flaming being of light who descends from the highest worlds to sing his song of glory. He perishes in the flames of this world only to be reborn time and time again. This amazing symbol of the soul's constant renewal on the wheel of life and death and rebirth applies to the Christ within each of us. Thus, it is not surprising that the phoenix is associated with Jesus, Horus, and Osiris, because it represents the inner beauty of the true self. Here are a few excerpts from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, found on a papyrus in the grave of Ani, the royal scribe of Thebes, overseer of the granaries of the lords of Abydos, and scribe of the offerings of the Lord of Thebes. In these passages, Ani has already made his way to heaven and hopes that his angelic twin will come and meet him. Then he can become one with Horus or Osiris and receive the kingship of his own soul, symbolized by the ever-renewing Bennu bird, or the phoenix. May the soul of Osiris Ani, the triumphant one, come forth with thee from heaven. May he cleave his path among the never-resting stars in heaven. May I arise like a hawk of gold coming forth from his egg, the auric cocoon, or the cosmic egg. May I fly, and may I hover as a hawk. May I rise, and may I gather myself together as the beautiful golden hawk, which hath the head of the Bennu bird. May I become a shining one therein. I am Horus, who dwells in splendors. I have gained power over his crown. I have gained power over his radiance, and I have traveled over the remotest parts of heaven. Horus is upon his throne. Horus is upon his seat. My face is like unto that of a divine hawk, Horus. I have risen up in the likeliness of a divine hawk, and Horus hath set me apart in the likeliness of his own soul. Amazing too, we see the eagle and the phoenix and the dual-headed eagle in so much of our government sigils and symbols, and all of the symbols of the world, royal symbols, all symbols. You see the eagle, you see the dual-headed eagle. There's a lot of truth into our belief systems, the foundation being from these symbols that are deeply embedded within our subconscious mind. So we understand them at a level, and we have no conscious awareness of 90% of this knowledge that we already hold within our own being. It's just in the subconscious field. In this passage, Ani has gained access to his angelic twin. He has achieved his end to become one with the sky god, known as the Son of Truth, and the upholder of Ma'at. This Egyptian teaching tells us it is our angelic twin who greets us upon our return to heaven. This is the great being of light that we first encounter on our life review. In other words, this magnificent angel of light is not Jesus or Buddha, but it is the Christed aspect of your own oversoul. Gnostic Christians also embrace the idea that each person has an angelic twin, an aspect of oneself that never leaves the higher dimensions. This wisdom was taught by Jesus, but it was suppressed by the Catholic Church. Gnostic cosmology states that the entire universe is an emanation of the original oneness. This oneness divided itself into plurality, thus creating polarity. thus creating a vast hierarchy of worlds and beings that issued forth from that original point of light. These trillions of angels inhabit the transcendent regions of glory and beauty that are benignly disposed towards human beings who aspire union with God, and thus they wish to help us on our path. The fallen angel. Gnosticism also teaches that some of these cosmic spirits became estranged from Source, such that in time they began to look upon themselves as self-existing rulers in their own right. They are the prideful beings that Jesus calls the archons, found in the 3rd and 4th century Gnostic text known as the Pistis Sophia. One of these great angels became so arrogant that he asserted that there were no other gods before him. This is the source of our legends about Lucifer, a great angel who became darkened as a result of its own arrogance. The Gnostic belief is that this being is Jehovah, the deity of the Old Testament. Jehovah claimed to be the ruler of the gods. Who shall have no other gods before me? While this might be blasphemous in some circles, the Gnostics may have been correct. After careful study, it appears that Jehovah of the Old Testament may well have been the Roman god Jove, or Jupiter, was in essence the Sumerian god Ninurta, the powerful thunderbolt-wielding son of the god Enlil, known throughout the Greek world as Zeus, king of the gods. Regardless of who this fallen angel really is, Gnostic Christians believe that it is this negative energy that has trapped us in the endless karmic cycles of oppression, blame, shame, guilt, and delusion. This same kind of masculine dominance was also expressed in the heavy-handed political control exercised for centuries by the Roman Catholic Church. Just as today, we find it in the actions of the fundamentalists of all religious scriptures. The Gnostics believed being true disciples of Jesus was to believe that the world was created by a mother, father, God, or as Jesus called it, the Amma, Abba. This divine mother and father occasionally sends aspects of itself out into the world as the divine daughter and the divine son. Some 2,000 years ago, these aspects became embodied in the figures of Yeshua or Isa and Mary Magdalene or Mary the Great. Gnostics believed that we, as human beings, are caught between the light of the Creator and the tyranny of the artificial systems imposed upon us by the dark angels, who have tried to enslave us. Gnostics say that because we are trapped in the illusion of the lower worlds, the Mother God placed within us a homing device so that we could find our way out of the darkness. This spark of holiness is centered in the heart, and thus it is through the power of love that we can find our way out of this illusion, this illusionary prison. It is love that will awaken us from the lie of separation and dualism. It will free us from the cycle of samsara and lead us back into a merger with our angelic twin. Stephen Haller, author and scholar of Gnosticism, explains, inspired and urged on by wise and helpful angels from above, and shackled and enslaved by tyrannical and unwise angels from below, we undergo troubled dreams as we strive to shake off our intoxication induced by the deception perpetuated by the tyrant angels. The knowledge that awakens us from the illusionary dream is not arrived at either by moral rectitude or by cognition of philosophical means, but through interior, revolutionary or revelatory personal experience. In Gnostic Christianity, this awakening is called gnosis, direct transmission of wisdom that reunites the little self with its angelic twin, the higher self. Later, the church would alter this concept, changing the words of Jesus to tell us that each person had a guardian angel watching over him or her. This is the great work. It's reuniting with your own divinity, your own divine twin, and knowing that the little self, it can work with your divinity. And they did switch this around, and they turned it from an interior thing that's connected directly to you to something that is outside of yourself and unobtainable, which would be the distant, far away guardian angel that's, not part of you. It's part of God, but not part of you. It was twisted in a form to disconnect you, in essence, from that angelic divinity that's truly you. So our divine twin. Gnostic Christians believe that a meeting between the human being and his or her divine counterpart is a cosmic event. Wow. An encounter that is so powerful that it can repair the illusion of separateness and lead that person out of darkness. This is reflected in the Gospel of Thomas, when Jesus tells us, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner self into the outer self, and the outer self into the inner self, the above being as the below, then you shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Thomas 22, 9 through 21. This powerful statement lies at the heart of all Jesus's or Yeshua's teachings. And Gnostics are focused on helping their students achieve this state of oneness while still living in the physical world. Holier, an ordained priest in the American Catholic Church and a holder of the English Gnostic transmission in America Cities, a story found in the Nag Hammadi Library about a visit received by Jesus at a very early age. The storyteller is Mother Mary, and the visitor looked exactly like Jesus, how he would look when he had become a man. This visitor inquired where he might find Jesus, my brother. Then when the two finally met, the older Yeshua embraced the younger Yeshua, and they became one. Whoa. Whoa, that's meeting the inner child and connecting to that. I think that might be what this is. This is when the two finally met, the older and the younger, and they became one. Oh, that's powerful information right there. Similarly, Mani, the 3rd century Persian prophet and Gnostic, tells us that when he was 12 years old, he too had a vision of his godlike twin, an angel who came from the Garden of Light. This angelic twin urged Mani to withdraw from the religious sect that he had been raised in and to prepare himself for a spiritual mission. At the end of age 24, his angelic twin appeared again and instructed him to go forth and share his teachings. Finally, when Mani was about to undergo martyrdom later in life, his angelic twin appeared one more time, and this time it united with him and bore him up to heaven. Historically, we know that even while Mani was undergoing torture in prison, he insisted that he had no human teacher at all, but that he had received all of his teachings directly from his angelic twin. Okay, the sacred marriage. This is where we will begin, but we're getting a little long on this video. So I will continue and see you guys on the next one. Hopefully you're liking this information. I love the angelic twin information. It resonates with me as a part of our higher self, maybe the ultimate level of the higher self. So in sessions and working with clients, I've seen people connect with the inner child and the angelic parts of themselves, and we choose all different images to work with this being. And I think a big part of this is understanding that these beings that we believe in and love and see, they might be a part of who we are. So connect with the knowing that these beautiful images that you can see are truly a part of who you are. So much love to you all. Love and embrace the beauty that is you, and know that your uniqueness, there's nothing like it. So sing your own song, because you are your own song. And that is beautiful and unique and priceless and eternal. So much love to you. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Namaste. Favor, abundance, blessings, and joy, hopefully flowing over in abundance in your reality, in your thoughts, in your mind, in your awareness, and in your heart. See you soon.